Okay, maybe it was actually a regression, apparently. To HTML name. Yeah, so we need to understand what it does mean, but that's fine. Indexing task creation happens created in the background task, preventing timeout out of memory when editing content type with many items. That's a new feature.
I agree, but it was already set to 1.9.x, and I didn't want to change the rules before we actually set the rules.
So I was waiting for you to talk about this. That's a new feature. Then?
Yeah, actually, I disagree with this commit going on to 1.9.x, but these are the current rules.
I don't know. Who defined the rules? Well, what are the current rules? I thought we. Yeah. So let me summarize this conversation for the ones who don't know about this conversation. So on Thursday during the bug triage, we had a good talk about what should go in 1.9x and what should go in 1.x. The idea being, how fast do we want to ship new features, improvement, bug fixes, and what is a new feature and improvement and what is a bug fix? Because we have two cycles, the long-term cycle, 1.x, dev branch, now, and the short cycles. And there was some disagreement on
Joining conference now.
Too many noise, sorry, I can't hear myself. Thank you, Nick. So I think the conclusion was that we all want things to be shipped faster. We also want something stable. So we want to let people know that nothing is broken. Okay. I think the open question was, how often are users up to upgrading their versions? Is there any rate or frequency of release that people will say, oh, I have, because we have seen that by the past, too many releases, or will they more complain about too few releases?
The problem if we could upgrade automatically.
This is a related discussion, but it will be the same issue. Some things can be automatic, and if nothing is broken and there is no update step like we used to have in the big releases or breaking change, then it could be automated. Yes, and it will be easy. And automated, there are two automations that are like, oh, I click a button and it's updating because I want to, and it's automatically updated on your behalf. And this is a big step that I don't think we should do. But it's related in the way that I think we need releases which can be which can be done using the easy path. Like I just copy paste my files and nothing is broken, everything will still work. I just have bug fixes and improvement or whatever the improvement is. So maybe that's the correct path for 1.9x. The other discussion was, well, if it's a new feature, like even a filter in a table, then it should be in the dev branch and not in the next release. So in this case, so today the official suggestion is that when you create a pull request, if it's a new feature, you target your pull request on the dev branch. If it's a bug fix and not a new feature, then it targets 1.9x. What I was suggesting was to even if the official recommendation is to target dev for new feature, if the new feature or improvement is very, very low risk, there is no risk that it's breaking anything, then it should go in 19x, that we can take it in 19x. The example was in the Elias UI, adding a search filter on this table. So this was what triggered the discussion. Should we put it in 19x or should we, like we said, put it in dev? So I think we agreed also on the fact that it's case by case. We have a general guideline which people have to follow by default, but case by case we could say, okay, this one doesn't need to be in the next big feature, the next big release, it can go in the next short release. If we think it's safe and it's useful, then let's take it now and not wait for 6 months or 1 year. I think, Daniel, tell me if I'm wrong, but you also suggested, yeah, but why do we have to wait 1 year? We should have feature branches, and when they're ready, as soon as we have one feature, let's ship it.
Yeah, I think we did agree that we should, what you said, that we should have that general guideline of what should go in which branch, and that we could make individual exceptions on a case-by-case basis. But Leah, also what I was talking about, and actually it occurred to me after the meeting that the longer the release cycle is on the dev branch, the harder it becomes to release. Mm-hmm. Because like we wait for a year, and then because we know that we wait for so long until the next one, you want to get everything possible into that release, and then we end up blocking each other. Mm-hmm. So I think that if we could increase the release pace also of the dev branch, then it would be, it would be easier to release also.
I have two things to add here. One thing would be that if you really go with only bug fixes going on to the minor versions, then we could also communicate that although probably we have a scheduled release cycle for the minor versions, so I don't know, every 1 month, for example, we could still communicate that it's practically a rolling release. So you can update anytime. There will be no migration, and as far as we know, your instance will be just better and will contain less bugs.
So we agree, everyone agrees on that. The short cycle should be not breaking, no update. Migrations is fine, okay? As per data migrations, what is the update process is not fine. Like I have to access my database and do some stuff or execute a specific step. This is not fine for a short cycle and a date-based release. And we all agree on that. But it can also contain small improvements which are safe and which follow the same concept that I can update when I want, it's safe, it's just goodness. It's the easy step. Mm-hmm. So scheduled.
My issue with this is, and that's what we also discussed by then, that with bug fixes, it's optional that we have to ship them because otherwise it's just broken. But with every feature, there is still a risk, however small we think it is, that we will break something unintentionally. Yep. So there is less of a guarantee that your instance will just get better.
There are no guarantees that a bug fix won't break anything else.
Yes, but that's necessary.
There are no guarantees to break anything else if it's necessary. It's necessary not to break anything else. And this is not guaranteed. Like with a small improvement. Example, please fix the blog post counting on the archives. Please fix it. Please fix the term part also counting. And I'm guaranteeing you that we will fix a bug and you will introduce a new one. I'm guaranteeing it to you. Every time we fixed it, we introduce one. And still we fix it. And that's fine.
And you can't really say generally that all bug fixes are strictly necessary either. Some can be worked around, some can be lived with. The line is kind of arbitrary there.
I agree, and that's why I say that we should really focus on getting serious bug fixes, so those that seriously hinder performance or some feature into the minor branches. So if there is a workaround, for example, then that bug fix shouldn't go into the minor release.
Why? Why is it bad to have an improving product that improves over time? smaller improvements. What's wrong with that? Because you are focusing on these big issues, which are very important to fix. But what's wrong with introducing or adding smaller bug fixes?
It's not wrong. Just wouldn't introduce them on the minor branch. That should be as stable as possible and as easy to update as possible. I would introduce them on the main releases. That should be faster to be released.
Yeah, we do have an improving product. It just doesn't have to be on the minor release branch.
Yes, it's just if you want to stay on 1.8.x, you can, and you will get your major bugs fixes, but don't accept everything to be better or get better.
Sure, but why is it a necessarily bad thing that the minor release branch, the 1.9.x in this case, improves with minor enhancements? Because if that is released every month, then that's good for all users.
I can see three reasons why that's not entirely good. One is every change introduces a theoretical risk. The second is it becomes less clear of a guiding principle and a guideline of where to target your pull requests. If it's on a case by case assessment, then it's less clear to people what goes what. That's the second drawback. Like, it becomes less of a cut and dry case. Third one is it becomes less of an incentive to upgrade to the major releases where most of the development work is going on.
Well, those are good reasons. But then it would become necessary, I think, to release more often the develop branch, because there's a lot of clients out there that are, if bugs are discovered, they don't, and some may consider them minor bugs, and then we wouldn't add them or fix them as part of 1.9x. So they would have to wait for a major release.
Yes, and that's exactly what I want. Release them from the dev branch more often.
Yes, that is the other side of our discussion, and
Yes.
that's specifically the aim.
So please read what I wrote for the schedule release, the short cycle. Okay, the short cycle branch, aka 1.9x right now. And then there is the dev branch. Dev branch, we also all agree, more frequent releases. Okay.
And keep it in a releasable state. Like, don't merge stuff in there unless you're ready to release it.
Yes, of course this will be a
Ideally,
best
but in practice, that's going to be sometimes hard.
Why is that hard?
Well, we experience
because we accept your pull requests. More frequent releases, try to keep it. So so bug fixes. So the scope of the schedule releases, the small one, is around 1 month. Okay. Max 2 months. Okay.
Sounds reasonable.
So,
and the dev branch.
And sorry, probably we should make it clear here how long we support branch. So we have a 1.9.x, but how long will we have that?
Until the next major release is what we've...
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if there's a 1.10, no more 1.9. Whatever will come,
Yeah.
right?
Correct. Released. How do you say that? Unless a security, unless for security patches. Okay. Try to keep and okay. So this one, 1 month, max 2 months, can be shorter. Okay, if needed, we don't have to wait. Like, it could be 1 day We've done that by the past. I think we released a 1.6.0 and then the day after 1.6.1 and then the week after 1.6.2. It was a crappy release.
And again, we can encourage people to continuously update if they wish. So if there is a technical reason, like with the web package, then they should wait. But other than that, you don't have to wait for the next minor release.
Correct.
You can just take the steps.
Mm-hmm. Not everyone does that, but yeah, some do that on the dev branch. So try to keep a releasable state, more frequent release. So example, more frequent releases for the major versions. I will start with 6 months, just to start the conversation. What do you think?
I like it.
It's hard to believe that we can ship a new feature in less than that. A new major feature. Because testing, because development time, because look at the history. Historically, we have never been faster than 6 months, even when there was not that many new features, usually 1 or 2 new modules. So I think that's reasonable, and then we can see how it goes. But that's really the goal. So if we see that we will be starting a new feature and it won't make it in the next slot of 6 months, then we can say, no, this one will wait for the next one. For instance, deployment. Deployment was started. We don't know the status of that. We have a demo today. We never said that we'll push it in 1.9. And it was not blocking because it was a feature branch, and always Bertrand took the time to merge dev branch into his feature branch to follow the development.
So what do we do if 6 months have passed and we have nothing major to release?
7 months, 8.
Okay.
Not 6 other months. That's the
And we could release with anything minor that's happened, theoretically, but because like predictable release cadence is also a value in itself. Like people know that they can count on it.
We could say that we have a good pace so that we ship new things every 6 months, and they are aware of that. But defining the date of the next shipment is, or even at 1 month delta, I'm like, it's hard to say.
Yeah,
it's how we work. It's not like our day-to-day job. Okay.
Yeah.
We are not accountable for that. It's when we have time and when sometimes Limbic we will do 1 month of open source stuff, and sometimes they don't have time because too many customers, and like everyone. So we don't know. We were supposed to ship in October, and then boom, a new project in Asia. Fuck. Try to keep it in releasable state. Okay. By using feature branches. Dev branch run new features, modules.
Maybe we could clearly state that Sipke should test his features before he merges them back in.
What? Sorry?
No, I was just busting Sipke.
But no, it does feature branches.
I actually did, and then you came along with this new idea for better improved UI. Well, thank you.
But that's never what you had to fix. It's always server side.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so we need to reflect that on the roadmap page, explaining when is the next schedule release for small changes and dev branch, and also maybe update some documentation page also where we can put that. Maybe where we already have what goes in 1.9x and what goes in dev branch. Okay, so coming back to this thing.
Sorry, one more thing here. Sorry? For new modules, we could employ something simple to indicate that this is a new module. We think it is ready and done and everything, but expect to experience some changes in the next major release. I'm thinking about something like having a metadata in the module.txt that will cause a notification to be displayed when you enable the feature. So let's not try to over-test everything, but instead let's try to keep it to a release cycle but indicate that this might be a beta module.
So are you talking about like marking features as experimental?
Beta, like Google
Not
Beta or beta?
experimental, that would be too harsh, but beta, right?
Yeah. So like it would be an orange. We could, in the module list, we could have a banner saying of beta or alpha or whatever. Saying.
Yes. Not alpha. That would be too soon, I think. But beta, like really, we made our best that this is really ready and everything, but not everybody has tested it yet, and we are awaiting some feedback. And it may change a lot in the future.
So when a module is in its beta state, then I suppose we should not enable it by default either.
Yes.
Yes, sure.
It should be optional.
So okay, let's try to have
so
this
what we
feature.
did for layouts, for example, maybe we should have made it optional and marked it as a beta.
So please file a bug where we could add this feature in the dev branch of having a metadata named. I don't know what we should name this metadata, but the value will be something like alpha, beta, pre-release, whatever. And whatever text is in there, we should just create a banner with that. Or do we have specific values? We could have specific values. Alpha, beta, pre-release. And display a banner based on that, just to let people know. And it's for us and for any module, actually. So people could create module, and when it's installed, they will see this banner.
Mm-hmm.
Another way of doing that is not having metadata, is by using the current version property, because in SemVer you can have 1.8.1 dash preview dash whatever you want, and use that. If there is a dash something, then okay, it's not a stable release. So yeah, open a ticket on that, and we can discuss it during triage on how we implement it.
Okay, could that be leveraged to indicate deprecated modules as well? Should that be something solved differently?
SemVer doesn't. I don't know if SemVer says that.
I think that makes sense. Maybe have a similar banner for deprecated features.
A banner to let people, yes, be careful it's there, but yeah. Okay. Put that in the same ticket. So coming back to the status and this change, what is it about? 4729.
Yeah, this is a feature that borders on being a bug. So when you edit a content type and you hit save, if indexing is enabled for that content type, the indexing feature will fetch all the content items of that content type, and one by one create an indexing task for them to re-index all the content items of that type. Now, if you have thousands of content items in that type, this will take some time, and if you have even more, it will cause a timeout, or in worst case, an out of memory that I have also seen. So what this fix does is that this task generation isn't done in the foreground thread all in once or all at once, but it's rather done in chunks in the background. So it will be slower, but it can handle any number of content items.
Just reading the comments. So I was suggesting, instead of background task, using a fire and forget, let's say, thread or task. Then you say, be careful, because if it's done, then there is no way to continue that if it fails. Then you suggest doing a background task, because we have background tasks today. The issue with background task is that it's not clear what it does and that it's there. And maybe sorry, I'm not even looking at the code, just thinking maybe something that could be a solution is using the job queue, which is there, with a long-running job. So the job is still there until, even if it's doing a 50 by 50, even if it's long-running, it will be a job queue, so we can delete it if we want, or see the progress of that. I don't know. So what did you do? A background task, index task, batch record. This is migration.
This might be a jobs queue job. I don't know.
You see what I mean? A job, but which we won't delete itself like it will be in the state. No, still running. I still have something to do. And even if we restart, it will continue its job. And there is a UI with that. That could be better. So if we want to delete the job, we can. Or see the progress, we can. Can you try to look at it with a job, just to see the difference, if that will work or not work, and if the job queue will support that? In the end, it will be just there. Yeah, that might be just some simple refactoring.
Yeah, no, I haven't looked at it. This
just
is
the ID.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. I will. This is a simple implementation for the case.
Okay. So let's look at it. Otherwise, in terms of risk and shippable stuff, this is kind of risky because it happens whenever you change the content type here. So that would be weird for 19x.
I agree. It's risky, although for certain sites it makes possible to actually use the feature of content type editing.
Yes, it's very specific cases where but maybe it will break the simple cases too. So we have to be, I don't know, if it can be triggered even. No, okay. If not,
it was targeted. The issue was targeted for 1.9.x, so I went with that.
Yeah.
We could transform the commit to dev if that's an issue.
Okay, look at the solution with the jobs queue and maybe put it in dev. It's yeah. Unless it's only kicking in the scenario which is today broken, which I'm not sure because. Yeah.
No, it doesn't check for the number of content items.
Yep. Okay. I don't want to take too much time on that because we have demos, deployment feature, dashboard feature, dev branch. Quick one. Origin dev. This editor is broken. origin dev, from dev here, which are merged, adding numeric field binding by Sipke. Daniel, fixed unit test has been discovered due to copy colon. Or okay. Yep, I saw that. The GG format is now supported because Windows 10 has some rolling streams and storage provider. Okay.
Yes, that was a bad fix.
And are you also, maybe you should actually use the copy too instead. That would be a good improvement. That might also fix everything.
Oh, we talked about that as well, yes.
And removing empty route extension. Empty route extension. Yeah, oh, good. This is safe to go in 1.8x actually. This is pretty safe. Oh no, it's not safe. No, it's safe. No, it's not safe. Is it safe? I'm sure.
You don't know. It is safe.
Be careful. If this is the only thing in the Orchard MVC routes, it could break your code if you're using. If it's not the only thing, then it won't break.
Well, it's not a critical fix, though I think it's good on that.
Okay, good. Demos. Who's first? Sipke, 7 minutes.
That's all I need. Oh, you need to stop sharing.
Done.
Thank you. Can you see it?
Loading. Benedek will have to acknowledge.
Yeah, it's loading. Yeah, got it.
Go.
Okay, so this is the dashboard, and it looks the same, but I moved the shape to a new module called dashboard, which adds a new setting here. So I want to show you guys this to gather some input. It's not done, but I want to talk about the direction I'm headed. And essentially, you can create your own dashboards with this dashboards module. For example, I created 2 content items of type dashboard. That's not a technical requirement, but I think it's good to be able to host them in this section instead of having content items in the content section there. So that's the only reason we see dashboard at this point here. That's the only reason why we have a dashboard content type. So here I created a custom dashboard with it's just a content item. It has a layouts part, some custom widgets or elements, and on the dashboard, that's what you see next time when you log in. And the way this is implemented is I'm using the some sort of selector pattern, which means there's a default implementation that simply reads the current content item being selected here. But it also means you could create personalized dashboards or have users create their own dashboards if they wanted to. Maybe that's a nice feature we could add either out of the box or as an add-on module. And here there's a section to, manage your dashboard. It's reusing the, no, actually it's not reusing the item controller, but I copied that code.
Questions? I didn't get why you have many dashboards.
The default dashboard looks like this, but if we want to be able to customize this text, I didn't create separate elements for each of these things here. What I did instead was implemented like simple HTML elements that look like this. But the downside is that if you want to edit this, you'll have to actually work with the HTML source so you can, control the icons. I didn't want to go as far as crafting customized dashboard elements because this way we can use whatever is here that comes out of the box. And if we use this content item, that would look like this. It's not exactly the same. As you notice, I'm using different icons using font awesome.
That's good.
Or
Can you hear
whatever
me?
comes with.
Sipke,
Yeah, now I can hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, 7 minutes. Questions. What I didn't get why there were multiple content items in the dashboards. I don't get it.
Oh, because I implemented dashboard as a content item. You don't have to.
So there are multiple dashboards.
Yeah, potentially, because maybe based on certain conditions or rules, you can use either this dashboard or the other one, and then potentially we could allow users to control their own dashboard. So if user A logs in, he sees his own dashboard, and so that.
And then people will want people will want common elements to everyone, and then I want to edit my own things. That makes sense, and I've already implemented that actually in Orchard with a customer. Question. The concern I see, so it's beautiful, it's very nice, it's good. The only issue I see here is the dynamic layout is targeting the front end, okay? And here you're targeting admin HTML with admin and switch. I think there should be a category maybe for dashboard to be sure, or I don't know, admin elements, so we know that it targets the admin UI. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
but you didn't create any custom elements for this, if I understood it correctly.
I didn't, but I think that's Sebastian's concern, is because those elements are created to target the front end, and maybe so there are elements that aren't suitable to be rendered in the backend.
But in this case, you used custom HTML, so yeah, there were no issue. You knew what to write, and it was fitting perfectly in the admin. At least that's a good solution, because people have a way to do whatever they want, HTML or text or simple things.
Yep.
That's great. I really think that it should be either very simple and there is one dashboard for everyone, and you have the permission to edit the dashboard, and everyone sees the same dashboard.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. That's the default.
And the element can be user-based, okay? That's fine. So
the element itself, okay. So you don't want to,
okay?
Yeah, because we have rules.
Steps. Make it simple first. Ship it. People will love it. Instead of waiting for 1 year and having something completely editable by every user and overrideable for everyone. And
well, you have 6 months.
Yes.
Okay. So
or 1 month. Or 1 month. Is a pre-beta, whatever, and yeah. So I think it could be simple as there is one dashboard. When you click on dashboard, you can edit the dashboard.
Yeah, so you click on dashboard here, and then what you see is actually is the editor.
Correct. Here. That would be the simplest thing for everyone, and everyone will already be very, very happy. Mm-hmm. Even and again, if users want user-specific content, it's one element, but which content will depend on the current user, and that really makes sense.
That's true.
And if you only have one, then there's less of a need to reuse these elements across multiple dashboards too. So it's not really an issue that they're just HTML, which would otherwise be kind of cumbersome if then you have to recreate them on multiple dashboards, right?
So yeah, make it simple first and ship it.
Okay.
And I think everyone will be very happy. What is switch communication? Oh, this is, yeah.
And then I have one last question. So I shall do that. I will simplify this as you just suggested. But what about this advisory? Because
this is a custom element in a category named dashboard, provided by the dashboard module. I don't know.
We can do that, because right now it's just HTML where I pasted in the HTML, the iframe, and all that. But my question is about the layout, because in the original dashboard, I'll show it to you. That looks like this.
Nobody cares.
That's my question. Do we care? I love that answer.
Put it so the default HTML, which does the same thing as today, that's fine. And then people, if they want to remove the advisory, they will remove it. If they want to change it, they will change it. Nobody cares.
It's not just about the advisory. It's also about this layout. As you can see, this is like
honestly,
flows.
nobody cares. It's default content. Nobody reads that, and that's we'll put the default layout will be fine. Now it's responsive. You see, it's even better than what we have here. So put the default migration with that. We can do some iterations on what is the default content, but now people can change it. So don't worry, nobody will keep it by default. They will just change it with the logo of the company, with the number of users, and people will create elements in the dashboard category so that, they can have analytics and number of users, latest comments, the same thing as WordPress. Don't worry, people will create modules for that.
Makes sense. So one final question then. Should we introduce a new element something called dashboard element so they can specifically provide a title, a text, and an icon, or use HTML elements?
No, it's free. If you want text, I have text. If I want title, I have a title. It's just about, they can use a category it will be a convention, dashboard category for the elements, and this way it will be optimized for dashboard, I don't know. But that's it. Just use convention. Don't force them to have a specific content for dashboard elements.
So for our default dashboard, we will use it as is currently, using HTML elements.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Or you can be fancy and just to show what can be done with that. We'll just put it this way right now. It's so easy, there is nothing to do. And then we can iterate and say, maybe now we have the feature, we should have this element by default because it makes sense in order. I don't know, we'll see. It's beautiful.
That's good.
Great.
Cool.
Keep it on the feature branch, okay? Keep it on the feature branch and rebase your feature branch regularly on the dev branch, or merge dev into.
We'll merge dev into the feature branch.
That's the goal.
And once it's ready, we'll merge it back. Sounds
beautiful.
Good. Cool. Thanks.
Everyone agrees? It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Next, some more beautiful. Jasmine. If it works, because last week, no.
I hope it works. Screen share. Sip, can you close your screen sharing?
I did, actually.
I have the same problem this week. I can't share my screen.
Let's see. Bertrand.
Maybe it's me.
Maybe. We'll see. Bertrand, can you share? Bertrand? Everyone hears me, but not Bertrand, or maybe we can't hear Bertrand. He's not muted. Nothing in the chat.
Try showing again, Jasmine.
Let's try again.
Nope.
You might be dialing back in. Sometimes it just drops.
The share your screen is disabled, so I can share a file, but.
Well, let me try. See if I can share mine.
Mine's not disabled.
I'm using Chrome though.
Yeah, me too.
Like everyone. I'm not using Microsoft Edge. Oh.
There is a problem with sharing your screen. It looks like we're having problems sharing your screen.
I don't have any problems. I see it.
We can share on Daniel.
Do you see mine?
Yes, but Sharon did like last week. It's breaking.
Okay.
Okay, so we had one demo today. I'm sure we'll have one more next week. I will try to contact Tuber Conference, and if it's reproduced, we'll use another tool because we can't do meetings without screen sharing. Bertrand, can you try to share a screen?
Yeah, I can try that.
There is actually an awesome new tool called Zoom Conference. I tried it once and it just works.
Zoom Conference. How many people?
It's I don't know, but anyways, the free version wouldn't be enough for us because it has a 40 minutes limit. I think there is some fee, but it's really awesome.
We can pay.
Okay.
The Pro is $10. Same thing.
Okay, so I can't share. Did you try to refresh? I can try to refresh and try again.
Yep.
Okay.
HD video, full screen, blah, 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 blah. But I need to know how many people can join at the same time, talk at the same time.
Oh, I got some news on Brochard.
Go.
We had our first pull request for
Yeah.
OS. So Brochard now works on OS X.
You tried?
Well, the guy who submitted the pull request is the one who isn't working. So I haven't tried it personally, but it works on core CLR. It was just yeah, so it's pretty cool. I don't have OS X. Oh.
I'm looking at the change just to see.
Can you hear me, Sebastian?
Yes, yes.
That's weird. My icon has gone grayed out on Uber.
Okay. So no
Are
more
you looking
demos?
at the Brochard change?
Yeah, I looked at the Brochard change, yes.
Yeah.
How do you know?
It looks like it was just a folder structure issue.
As usual.
Yeah. But it's backwards compatible with Windows, so I'm happy with it.
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Can
I
you
can
see my screen?
Loading. Question is, how long will we be able to see your screen? One, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 seconds. That's fine. Go.
Okay. Yeah, and by the way, did you notice how the favicon for our chart looks like crap on Firefox? Somebody needs to do something about that. It's been like that forever. Okay, so I have 2 instances of our chart here, and the feature that I'm going to show is deployments. So the idea is automating deployment and making deployments as easy as possible between 2 instances of our chart. So let's say, for example, that you have a dev machine and you want to deploy some content to a staging machine, and then from staging to production or whatever. So that's the idea, basically. And the way it works is that you have sources and targets that are configured on the system. And those are basically what instances you can communicate with. So here I have my remote that is configured so that I can exchange contents with it. And you can basically send or receive contents between all of those. Okay, so I have a private API key, an owner, all that sort of stuff. Okay. And then I have deployments.
It's a custom type. It's a custom type. It could be FTP. It could be whatever. It's an abstract concept, or it has to be.
No, it's not really an abstract concept. It talks between web services and.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we talked about having different channels to deploy, and you could implement other channels, but it's not abstracted in a way that you could, swap implementations like that.
Okay.
Okay, and then once I have my sources and targets, I can configure deployments. And here I have a couple of deployments. Well, actually 4 deployments that are configured. This one, for example, is deploying. It's deploying the page content type. It's using this target. You can also use a projection to define what you want to deploy. It looks a lot like the export screen except that it has a few other things like run on demand, create schedule, stuff like that. One thing that you may notice that is also added to the import-export screen is the files checkbox here. So you can import and export media, for example, with the associated files. And that's kind of on a part-by-part basis. It's the responsibility of the part driver to implement file import and export. So basically, if you look at the new code for the media part driver, you'll see some code in import and export that deals with files. Basically, you have this collection of files that you can add to, and it's as simple as that. And once you have files in a deployment, instead of using just an XML recipe, it will use a NuGet package. So the NuGet package has the recipe that you would get without the files, but it also has the associated files inside of the package. All right, so any questions so far? No?
I have a question, but I'll ask it in a minute.
Okay. So this is one way to deploy. So you can schedule your deployments so that they happen at a fixed time, or you can run them immediately. You can also download the recipe or the package, depending on what you have inside. And there are a few other things you can do. For example, you can use workflows to do your deployment, which is a really neat way of integrating all that. So here I have a very simple workflow that is just looking at item publication. So it's looking at, more specifically, page publication here. And when a page publication happens, well, there is this new deploy step that basically says, okay, here's the target I want to use to do the deployment, and I can choose to either deploy it immediately or queue for later deployment. What happens for queuing is that it gets into that queue, and next time that deployment is executed, it will go as part of it. And a third way you can do things, which is something that I really like, is that you can actually go directly onto a content item editor, and you can see kind of a history of the deployment of that item. When that actually loads. Yeah, on that machine, video conferencing software always makes the web server much slower. So. Come on.
So I have a quick question. You mentioned queuing. Does it in any way involve the jobs queue by any chance? Or do you have your own queuing mechanism?
No, it's not. It actually pretty much puts a package into a folder, basically. That's basically what it. Okay, so now when you enable the feature on all content items, you get this new piece of UI here that lists the deployment targets that you have. It shows you the latest that happened, how it happened, whether it was deployed in batch or individually. And you can also deploy queue or even deploy draft. And deploy draft is very useful because in some cases you want to really stage contents onto the production server, for example. And even if on your local machine the contents has been published, what you want to deploy is a draft. So you can get that kind of nuance here. And you can also download the recipe or the package directly for those. And I think that's pretty much it, except if George has can point out something that I forgot. That's pretty much the feature. It's actually a pretty big feature in terms of amount of code. And I have to acknowledge that this was actually based on an existing deployment module that was submitted quite a long time ago. So the base, base of the code is that, but a lot of work has been done over that to get to the point we are at right now. And that work has been, by the way, this is very important, that work has been ordered and paid for by OneStop, and they need to be thanked for that. They wanted this development to happen directly on the public repository. So this is in the deployment branch, so you can check it out and try it, test it, give me some feedback, and that's it.
Question, can it contain some code? Like I have a module on my stage and I want to...
So potentially, I guess you could implement a driver that would somehow output some module inside of the NuGet package. It hasn't been, nothing has been built to enable for that, but I suppose you could make that work as an extension. But yeah, it's contents, including binary contents, but it's contents for the moment.
And how is the NuGet package extracted? Are you using the infrastructure, or are you just reading and copying in the... Is the NuGet package containing the folder structure of the site?
Not the folder structure of the site, because there are some issues associated with multi-tenancy. Your tenants might not have the same name and so on. So the folder structure inside of the NuGet package reflects what you had on the originating site, but with the bits about multi-tenancy removed. So there is some translation that is necessary on the other end, if that makes sense. So that you can, for example, export a media from tenant foo on the originating site and import it on tenant bar on the other hand, and it works.
Okay, so it contains the folder structure, but of the destination.
It contains a folder structure that has a few bits abstracted out. So basically, the driver needs to more or less know where things go. For example, if you look at the code for the media part, you'll see that happen. It looks at the path to the file, and it puts that under its own media folder. So it knows where its files go. And there is some information in the recipe as well that complements the folder structure.
And how is the package exchanged? How is it sent between the two nodes?
HTTP.
Web API private key.
So it's through the API as well.
It's a web service that you do a post basically with the package as part of that post, and there is an exchange of keys. The authentication part of this is pretty interesting. So it basically it can authenticate using the API without doing a login password kind of authentication. And there is a special user that you configure, and that usually only has the permissions to do that.
So Bertrand, are there any known issues at this point?
None that I can think of, no.
Okay, cool. This looks very exciting, and I have a bunch of people that want to use this.
Yeah, so it's still relatively early, so I wouldn't be surprised if you could find a couple of bugs. But it should be pretty stable overall. It should not stray too far from the path.
On and off for the last couple of weeks, and so far it seems very stable. There's still some UI enhancements and a couple small changes we might make to it, but I have to take my hat off to Bertrand. All of my crazy requests, he was able to accommodate them. And like you said, this is based on, I think it's the WNG deployment feature that has been languishing in the gallery for a couple of years. So if their documentation is still very much relevant. The setup, screens, everything looks, very similar. So if you would like to try it out, it is in the public repository. It is our intention to contribute this feature to the community. Maybe this will be the centerpiece of 1.10 or a later version of 1.9. But this is the branch that we will be launching our own internal Orchard 1.9 version off of in the coming months. So this is the feature that our partner operations has the #1 request because as we move towards a CMS-based environment, everything that was checked into source control and propped manually now is all in the CMS, which is great because you can create it and update it, but it sucks because there are 4 different environments it needs to move through. So especially the big plus here is the ability to deploy media, to deploy binary files from one instance to another. So I've been testing.
Yes, and actually that is a non-issue. Actually, if you try to deploy too many, for example, media items, you will hit limitations and it will blow up.
Yeah, 10,000 media items in one push will not work. So. But we're still working trying to figure out
the file size in total, or
it's mostly the number, because when you go past, obviously the file size is going to be enormous depending on what you're deploying, but if you go past the internal SQL parameter limit, which is I believe about 2,100 parameters, your query will blow up. So we're trying to figure out, should we limit, 500 items at a time, 100 items at a time? More likely than not, your thing will time out unless you've got a very fast connection.
And there is an open bug for that. So it will actually blow up in a number of different places, I think. I can think of a few things that won't be able to handle that amount of content. So what I would advise, if you have that much content to deploy, usually it will be a one-time thing. So you might actually want to deploy using another way of deployment. This should be optimized for day-to-day deployment operations, I would say. Where you create a new homepage and you want to schedule it to be deployed at midnight or something.
Hey Bertrand, is there a way to access those features programmatically? If I want to create my, custom service that would deploy stuff to the other node.
Sure.
Okay, cool.
It's Orchard.
I know.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Good.
All right.
Thank you. So Jasmin, next week?
Yes, again.
You can try it even when we are offline, I'm sure, just to see if it works. Okay. 1:11. It's late. Did I miss anything? We can talk on Thursday. Any more questions? Nope. We'll talk. Release. I haven't seen anything bad, so I assume the release went well. I submitted App Gallery entry, but I haven't had any feedback yet, so I will ping them.
Somebody mentioned today that they went to orchardproject.net and it still doesn't show the release on their first page.
Oh, okay. I have a list of checkbox to do, and this has not been done. Correct. I have to do that. Thank you. I will do that. That, and I also need to send an email to the mailing list. And by the way, I was wondering, I would like to move away from the current mailing list that we have and use something like MailChimp, because we don't have access to the mailing list and just for notifications, okay, not a way to communicate between us because we have a forum, but for official communications like new releases and security patches and everything. We'll talk about it next week, maybe. Okay, I will fix that. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. Thanks, everyone. See you on Thursday or next Tuesday.
Should we try Zoom on Thursday?
We can try that, yeah. Cool. But I saw there is a restriction. Sorry. It's $10 for 25 people. More, if we want more, it's $50. So we'll see. We can try it. We won't be more than 25 on Thursday.
$50 is that per month?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's 10 for 25 and 50 for 100. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But okay, it should be per person. It's more expensive by 100 than by 25. Interesting. But yeah, that's life, apparently. Okay, let's see. Thanks, everyone. See you on Thursday.
Maybe their thing doesn't scale so well.
I don't know. Yeah, they want to prevent people from using 100 people. We'll see. Okay, see you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.